Martell Holt, which told you right away there was tension. And honestly, if you listened closely, he was dropping some really eye-opening comments about his history with Martell and how things have played out over the years. Mars even admitted that he and others purposely never spoke negatively about Martell on camera because he knew Martell wouldn't want that done to him. That one statement right there reveals a lot about the unspoken rules that existed behind the cameras. Now, that scene we're talking about was shared on Reality Entertainment TV's Instagram page. Since the actual clip might get flagged, we're looking at screenshots. Mars started off by making a jab at Orion Martell's ex-mistress turned girlfriend. He joked about wanting some coleslaw on his hot dog, clearly meant to poke at Martell, and in his confessional, he even admitted it's easy to push Martell's buttons. That tells us something. Martell can go from 0 to 100 in no time. And people around him know how to play that game. Then Mars went into his backstory with Martell. About 9 years ago, the two of them started a business together called Sculpt, doing residential and commercial construction. It didn't last long, and they went their separate ways. Mars explained that Martell made it seem like he was doing Mars a favor by letting him in, but Mars saw it differently. He pointed out that Martell always thought he was better than everyone else, and now that things have shifted, Martell tries to drag people down with him. Mars also reminded everyone that Martell got caught cheating and now spends a lot of time blaming others for his problems. That's a big insight into how messy these relationships really are behind the scenes. Another flashback came up back in season 1, when Martell and Melody were celebrating their 10-year anniversary. Mars cracked a small joke in the limo about why they hadn't celebrated yet. But when Martell didn't like it, Mars dropped it. He explained it simply. I wouldn't want that done to me. That right there shows how some cast members choose to pick their battles carefully. What's wild is that Martell didn't react much during this scene. Even when Arian's name was mentioned, he stayed calm, which is unusual for him. Maybe it was because Ken was in the room and Martell knew things could get heated if he snapped. Either way, it showed Martell being more cautious than usual. Mars also spoke about how he avoided accusation, talking about Martell's marriage or infidelity, because he didn't want to betray their friendship or make Martell feel uncomfortable. That kind of honesty really explains why certain things haven't come out on the show over the years. It's a mix of loyalty, boundaries, and knowing when to hold back. He also touched on how Martell used to downplay his success, trying to make himself look bigger by pointing out Mars's old jobs. For example, Mars once worked at a movie theater, but at the same time, he owned multiple properties and apartment complexes. Mars made it clear he wasn't embarrassed by honest work, and that providing for his family was what mattered most. The more Mars talked, the clearer it became. Martell has been trying to embarrass him and Tisha for years, but Mars never escalated. Because of his principle, don't do to others what you wouldn't want done to you. That's maturity, but it also shows how different he and Martell really are. One of the funniest but sharpest moments came when Mars kept poking at Martell with the coleslaw joke. He admitted he does it on purpose sometimes, but always, in a way that doesn't cross certain lines. He knows how to push buttons strategically, while Martell usually reacts without thinking. That contrast is exactly what makes their scenes so entertaining. By the end of the episode, it became clear that Mars's way of handling things isn't just about protecting himself. It's about respecting others, too. He chooses his words carefully, engages only when needed, and lets some things slide for the bigger picture. Meanwhile, Martell's impulsive style keeps him at the center of chaos. This whole storyline shows the deeper layers of love and marriage. Huntsville. It's not just about the loud drama, it's about the quiet decisions, it's the unspoken rules, and the personal boundaries these cast members live by. That's what keeps fans hooked week after week. As the episode moved along, the contrast between Mars and Martell became even clearer. Mars showed that he could crack jokes, make subtle digs, and still keep his composure without letting things spiral out of control. Meanwhile, Martell's body language told another story. Even though he stayed calm on the outside, you could sense the tension bubbling under the surface. His silence wasn't really peace, it felt more like strategy, like he was trying to calculate his next move without giving too much away in that moment. Ken's presence in the room added another layer to the tension. Mars may not have been directly confronting Martell in an aggressive way, but the fact that other men were there seemed to keep Martell in check. He knows his reputation for snapping too quickly, and with witnesses around, he had to play it smarter. That alone changed the energy of the scene. It wasn't just Mars talking, it was Mars talking in front of people who could hold Martell accountable if he tried to twist the narrative. Mars also took time to highlight the difference between perception and reality. Martell often tries to paint himself as the leader, the one who helped others get opportunities, but Mars broke that down with facts about his own success. Owning multiple properties while holding down regular jobs shows that Mars has been building quietly without needing to brag or belittle anyone else. This made Martell's attempts to embarrass him look weak in comparison. Another powerful part of this episode was Mars's reflection on loyalty and boundaries. He made it clear that no matter what drama swirled around Martell, he avoided putting Martell's business on blast. Not because he couldn't, but because he believed in respecting certain lines. That's the kind of maturity that separates him from the chaos Martell often creates. Fans watching could really see the difference between someone who protects relationships even when it's tempting to expose the truth, versus someone who uses exposure as a weapon by the end. Mars's honesty gave fans a rare look at how things actually operate off camera. The cast doesn't just live in front of the lens, there are years of friendships, rivalries, and unspoken agreements that guide what we see on screen. Mars revealing that Martell has been rewriting history through interviews and appearances was a game changer. It explained why some storylines have felt one-sided and gave viewers a new perspective on how Martell manipulates situations to make himself look better.